Hello, Vanessa Webb, Stampin' Up Demonstrator Australia here. Today I'm sharing a technique with you that I call Faux Brocade, and I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful background for a card. You can sit a greeting on the top of it, but this is the technique that we are going to learn today. So it's a little bit like fabric. It's got a lot of texture. And yeah, and it's a nice sort of soft watercolor look as well. Here's how I did it. So I started off with a piece of smoky slate cardstock, and I am going to stamp all over that using a stamp from the Bloom and Grow stamp set. Had to grab that to show you, and that's the little image that I'm using. There's a couple of different sprays of flowers that you can use, but this is the one that we're going to use, and I've got that on a block here, and I'm just going to stamp it in smoky slate, so tone on tone, same color cardstock as my ink pad. I'm going to stamp it fairly randomly and twist it round. It doesn't matter if you go off the side of your card. The idea is that you just sort of want to fill in most of the gaps on the card like that. I'll just angle that one that way so you get a nice sort of random pattern of the flowers. Then you're going to grab one of your water painters. So these are the new water painters in the annual catalogue. You get 3 in a pack for $21, I think it is. It's around about the same price as the 2-pack that you used to get with the aqua painters. So these are called water painters. There is a fine tip and a more broad tip, and there's also a flat tip, which is great for putting a colour wash all over your cardstock. This is the larger of the fine tips that I'm using. And I'm going to use a couple of different colours. Pizzazz for my green. I'm going to squeeze these just to get the ink in the lid of my ink pad. Now those of you who've used Stampin' Up ink pads before will know that yes, you can use them as watercolour palettes. And all you've got to do is give them a squeeze so that some of the ink goes into the lid of the ink pad. I'm going to get rid of some of this pink that I had on my brush just until it runs clear. You don't want your brush to be too dry, but too soggy is not good either. So you just want to get the right amount of moisture on there, and if it's too wet, just brush it off like I just did, and you can get rid of some of the excess water. So you're going to start off just by colouring in all of your leaves. So I like to do everything the one colour first on my background. So I would, if I was making this card, if I was colouring the whole thing, I'd go ahead and I'd colour in all of the leaves. Then I would switch colours, so you just want to make sure that runs clear. And then I might go into the pink over here. So this is Magenta Madness, and just getting a little bit more moisture into there so it goes on a little bit more easily. I'm going to colour my central flower in each of the sprays with the magenta. Now what I did want to say was that when you first start painting on, because you're using your watercolour brush, so your water brush with paper or cardstock that's not designed necessarily to have watercolour on it, you'll find that it can just get a little bit messy and just to look a little bit dodgy. You can see the brush strokes quite clearly at first, but as this dries, and you'll get to see as I'm painting, more and more of this will start to dry. The colour actually blends in really well, and it takes on a completely different look. So that's my pink, and now I'm just going to, as I said, I would go and colour all of those pink all of those flowers in pink, the ones in the center there. And then I'm just going to come in with a little bit of the Misty Moonlight. And you see I'm sort of going in sweeping motions like this, trying to follow, I guess, the pattern of the roses. And it is quite okay if you would like to leave some gaps in your watercolouring. And then what I did just to finish off was to come in with a little bit of the smoky slate. So give that a squeeze and make sure that's running clear. And yeah, I just touched a little bit on those buds there to colour them slightly. So I did that all over, and this one's slowly drying, but when it's dry, this is what I want to show you. It actually gets a bit of a milky watercolor look to it that is not there yet when it's still wet. So you'll need to sit it aside to dry a little bit, and then once it's ready, once it's fully dry, you're going to run your piece of cardstock through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now the folder that I'm using is probably my favourite folder. It's called the Subtles folder, and it gives a lovely subtle look. Look, it feels a little bit like a canvas or a piece of fabric. I think it's called the slub. Yeah, so you get a lovely textured feel and look to this card just by running through the completed watercolouring through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I've used the 3D die adapter, which you'll find in the back of the annual catalogue. Let's just have a look, open this out and see what it looks like. And we have our faux brocade. If I hold it up close, you can see the watercolouring, but you can see that lovely texture that's just been put on there. And then when, of course, you pop it on your card, you can add a greeting and some embellishments. I've actually embossed my greeting in white, and I've added some of the white crinkled seam binding. Here's a couple of other cards that I've made using the same technique, just with slightly different colours. So I've used this one, a little bit of petal pink and some softer colours in the leaves there. And this one with a pop of yellow. So yeah, Daffodil Delight and so saffron, and just some softer colours again, bringing out the yellow. And using some of the different sprays in this Bloom and Grow set. So any line art set will do. This one's fantastic because it's got a couple of different greetings as well as images that you can play around with. I hope you give this technique a go. And if there's anything that you need from my store, you can pop in there and shop 24/7. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a great day.